So last week, my wife and I were out for weekend brunch because who doesn't love weekend brunch? When our waitress came by and asked, are you David from ThePoptimist? At which point I threw on my sunglasses, pulled my hat down low, stormed out of that restaurant into a mob of paparazzi. It's getting to the point where you can't even eat a meal in peace anymore. Oh, okay, so not exactly that. I was more than a little stunned. I mean, people recognize me at Book Riot Live, but that is such a confluence of bookish people that you figure if it's going to happen anywhere, it's going to happen there. But in your own backyard, that's just kind of inconceivable. It's crazy. Now, Alex, our waitress, it turns out, wasn't sure that it was in fact me and was talking about another waiter about that. I swear I know that person from YouTube. And he was like, well, why don't you ask Kay? That's her dad after all. So yes, our daughter Kay was in fact working the hostess station that morning. And in fact confirmed, probably to her utter mortification, that I was in fact the Poptimist. And so Alex came over, said hi, gushed about the channel, and frankly made my week. Seriously. Now, it turns out Alex has her own channel called Big Al Books, and she is far smarter, reads way deeper than I do. I totally think you should check out her channel. I have a link to it down below. Go, check it out, subscribe, tell her I said hi. Okay, so on to books. Company Town was pitched to me by my friend as a sci-fi story featuring a Korean newfie who's working as a sex worker bodyguard, shades of William Gibson, set in Newfoundland. I mean, how do you say no to a pitch like that? Top it off, author Madeline Ashby is a Toronto-based author who is also a corporate futurist. And as far as job title goes, that is completely badass. Her master's thesis was on anime, fan culture, and cyborg theory. Now, all of that doesn't mean a damn thing without a story to back it up, and Company Town delivers the goods. Go Jung-hwa is the half-Korean, all-Newfie daughter of a bitter ex-K-pop star, which is frankly a set of character traits I never thought I'd see represented in literature. Now, in a world where everyone is augmented, bioengineered, and genetically enhanced, Hua is a bit of an anomaly in that she is all natural, no implants, with pure homegrown muscle. She also suffers from Sturge-Weber syndrome, which leaves a port wine stain across half her face and over most of her body. Now, most people would have had this deficiency cured, but she's lacked the funds and frankly has learned to live with it. And it turns out that's a bit in her advantage. That port wine stain is essentially a dazzle pattern that confounds facial recognition software, and her complete lack of implants makes her unhackable. This proves important when she's later hired on to be the bodyguard of the son of a huge business titan that essentially owns the oil rig city in which Hua lives. Murder, mayhem, mystery ensue, and we'll leave it at that for now. Company Town is a straightforward, plot-driven story that does this incredible job of compelling you to pick up and keep reading the next chapter and the next, coming from a long swath of literary fiction that tends to linger on the finer details to build this elaborate edifice that reveals itself to a singular climax. Company Town is something like I'd call multi-orgasmic. I mean, there's a larger story arc, but there's lots of minor climaxes throughout. And it's like really good episodes of a fantastic season of TV. And there's an art to writing that, and Ashby nails it. I mean, frankly, she almost nails it too well. She does that frustrating thing where you're coming on to the end of the chapter. Now, no spoilers. This has nothing to do with the story. Just for the sake of example, we'll say the protagonist, Clarice, surrounded by bloodthirsty saber-toothed tigers that are waiting to rend her limb from limb. She can barely keep her eyes open from the poison, and she still has to disable the missile launch codes. And then the chapter ends. And I mean, you just like, okay, well, that's it. I guess I'll pick it up tomorrow. No, you have to keep reading. And so the next chapter opens up, and there's Clarice at the drugstore buying baking soda and tampons. And you're like, what? What the hell? Was this a flashback to the past? Does the baking soda have something to do with the poisoning that happens later? Or is this in the future and she's managed to escape her fate? I mean, you have to keep reading on it. As she fills in the gaps and the details over the last chapter, she's laying the groundwork for that next climax. And so you just keep getting pushed forward. So this is a carefully architected sci-fi page turner that was easily a 4.5 out of 5 stars for me and really kicked off this huge sci-fi journey for me. So I immediately followed Company Town with The Nine Fox Gambit. It's been shortlisted for the Hugo and the Nebula Awards, and it's garnering a ton of praise. Now, frankly, author Yoon Han Lee, as a Korean-American, transgendered, queer, husband and father writing hard sci-fi, reading this book pretty well wipes off the entire left side of your Read Harder Challenge bingo card. This is hard, next-level sci-fi for the seasoned sci-fi reader, and frankly, I found myself floundering at times. Now, I followed that up with a Long Journey to a Small Angry Planet, which swings that sci-fi pendulum hard in the other direction. This is more of a warm and fuzzy examination of a multi-species space-hopping crew and is more concerned with those sapient interactions. It's less sci-fi and more their emotional journey, and it felt a little YA in that aspect, but Becky Chambers has me invested enough in these characters that I'm willing to stick around for the sequel, Closed and Common Orbit. Nonetheless, I am grateful for Company Town for setting me off on this sci-fi tangent, because sci-fi, when done well, really ticks off a lot of my reading sweet spots. Alright, so that's it. I'm debating rereading American Gods after watching the first 2 episodes of the show. The show is fantastic, not the least of which is having Gillian Anderson as Media and Pornstash as the leprechaun Mad Sweeney. I mean, he is so good. Anyway, I'm still on the fence about that. Let me know if you checked out the show or not and what you think. In the meantime, I hope you all have a great week of reading, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.